Hey, how's it going? So, do I take it you're Greek Orthodox then?
Russian Orthodox.
Russian Orthodox? Okay. That's a little bit harder to argue against Russian Orthodox. But I will say, if you're against, the papacy, what do you think about Bartholomew excommunicating, the whole schism with the Russian Orthodox Church over the autocephaly of the Ukraine? That's kind of like a papal move, no?
No, I think it is a papal move. Yeah, I disagree with it. I think Bartholomew's wrong. And I also think that if you look at the first 1,000 years of Christianity, you can find plenty of analogs in the first millennium to the type of patriarchal schisms that we see to this day. So if the schism between the MP and the EP is an invalidator of a church, then it invalidates the Roman Catholic system if the Roman Catholic Church was the church of the first 1,000 years.
Well, I'm not saying that it invalidates it. I'm just saying maybe it invalidates some of the arguments, at least, that the Greek Orthodox Church has about the primacy of the Pope. Because the way I see it, Bartholomew was behaving, basically as not first among equals and council approach. He was acting unilaterally.
Yeah, that would just mean that Bartholomew is wrong. It wouldn't mean that the critiques of the papacy are wrong.
Okay, so do you think that the Russian Orthodox Church is the only Orthodox Church that has valid sacraments?
No.
Or do you think that... Okay,
no Orthodox person thinks that, except for maybe some 0.01% schism group.
So in your opposition to Catholicism, would you say that we don't have valid sacraments, or are you a little bit more muted than that?
No, I don't think you have valid sacraments.
Ooh, interesting. So all of the Orthodox churches have valid sacraments, but the Catholic Church doesn't. That's your position?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so I don't see how you could possibly claim that. How do you defend the sacrament of second marriage? Let's start there.
How do you defend it, given that your church accepted that in the first 1,000 years?
Well, we don't. We have 7 sacraments. The sacrament of second marriage.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said?
That my church accepted the sacrament of second marriage in the first 1,000 years?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, they were obviously wrong, and they changed.
Oh, so your church was wrong. So the papacy was wrong when it accepted the Basilian canons?
My church can be wrong sometimes. That doesn't invalidate.
Oh, wait a minute. The papacy can be wrong in faith and morals?
The papacy can be wrong, and not in matters where the Pope speaks ex cathedra, but as you know...
No, it's not ex cathedra. You don't even know what the papal doctrine is. What does Vatican I say about what's under the charism of Peter?
Yeah, no, faith and morals. I get that.
No, but what does it say? What are the levels of dogma in the Roman Catholic Church?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Why are you trying to debate? You don't even know your own view.
Well, I know enough of my view.
No, you don't. I can tell you don't. You don't even know what the extraordinary magisterium versus the ordinary magisterium is.
Why don't you educate me?
What?
Why don't you educate me?
Well, you wanted to come to debate. You wanted to disprove my position. You don't even know the Roman Catholic position.
Well, why don't you enlighten me in the Roman
so
Catholic
Vatican I teaches that both the extraordinary magisterium and the universal ordinary magisterium are under the protection of the Petrine charism, such that the Roman See can never err or teach error on faith and morals. So it is not restricted to only ex cathedra, and in fact, the position that you only have to follow the Pope in ex cathedra is condemned 4 times over.
In Vatican I?
Vatican I is one place, as well as other places like Casti Connubii and others.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that you can go around being disobedient to the Pope or anything. That's not what I'm saying with matters of ex cathedra.
So you think but you're admitting that Rome erroneously accepted in the East Basilian canons that allowed for remarriage for centuries.
I would say, well, I don't know enough about it, but I would believe you if you said that they did that in the first millennia.
Right.
And,
so the East had the canons of Saint Basil, which allowed for that. Where is the Roman Catholic rejection of that?
We only have a sacrament of marriage. I mean, we define 7 sacraments today. We don't.
Where is the Roman Catholic rejection in the first 7 centuries of the canons of Basil?
I couldn't tell you
because it doesn't exist.
Okay,
so your hyper-moral gotcha doesn't work. It actually turns back on you guys, and that's why I love to debate this with Roman Catholics, because this shows how you guys are ridiculous.
Sure, Well, I mean, let's say that I accept that. I don't see how that still would. If you're saying that the Catholic Church basically accepts all of the Orthodox sacraments, which, by the way, the Orthodox Church.
You don't even get this. Invalidates the papacy. It's not even a question of the sacraments.
Yeah, but you said that our sacraments are invalid. You did say that.
From our position, yeah. But what does that have to do with whether the papacy is correct and indefectible or not?
Well, I think that the sacraments are more important than the papacy. I do believe that.
What's the Roman Church built on, according to Vatican I?
I guess it's built on the rock that is Peter.
Yeah, the papacy, correct.
Yeah. Well, I still think if you're going to say that the Catholic sacraments are invalid, it's interesting because to my knowledge, the Orthodox churches haven't, like, Kirill hasn't said that, or any Russian primate.
No, it's actually the teaching of the Russian Orthodox Church that they're not valid. It's already been accepted in Rokor synods, correct.
But all the other Orthodox sacraments are valid.
No, the Roman Catholic sacraments are not gracious. We don't get into this quote valid debate. That's your system when you talk about validity. If it's a question of the efficaciousness of the grace, we don't make any statement on that per se, but we do not accept them as necessarily de facto efficacious, and that's why the Rokor position is to do baptisms for reception most of the time.
Yeah, that's true. I have seen that you do the rebaptism. In the Catholic Church, we don't really do that. We accept.
That's not actually even true. You do conditional baptisms, which is basically the same principle.
They do it sometimes.
No, they do it all the time. I had a conditional baptism when I was accepted in the Roman Catholic Church.
Oh, you were Roman Catholic. When did you leave?
I was Roman Catholic for 10 years, yeah.
Why did you leave?
Because of the dogmatic contradictions.
Regarding the papacy?
I mean, that would be a big part of it, but Vatican II has plenty of other places that contradict, like the idea that Muslims and Catholics and Jews and Hindus all worship the same God is a contradiction.
So how do you interpret the doctrine of patron succession then, in that verse where Jesus seems to entrust his authority to Saint
The
Peter?
Orthodox Church agrees that there are Petrine sees. In fact, Rome, Alexandria, and Antioch are all Petrine sees, according to Pope St. Gregory the Great. But that doesn't mean anything about Vatican I's claims about some supremacy in the bishopric of Rome. Where is anything about Vatican I in the first 1,000 years of Christianity?
Well, it's nowhere because Vatican I hadn't happened yet.
My gosh. The doctrines of Vatican I. Vatican I claims that its view of the papacy is the ancient patristic view.
Right.
Where is that in the first 1,000 years? Anything like Vatican I?
Well, you could make the argument that charge from Jesus Christ is where that comes from at the very beginning of the church's history.
So how come nobody after Jesus Christ interpreted the charge to Peter in the Vatican I way in the first 7 centuries of the church?
Well, didn't they basically until the schism of 1054? I mean, it seemed like they were.
Of course not. This is just your ignorant view of church history from the Roman Catholic perspective.
Let me ask you this: if Pope Francis came out tomorrow and he said, "Yeah, I'm ready to just be first among equals," do you think that the other Orthodox primates would say, "Oh, okay, schism over"?
No, because it's not just about the papacy, and he's already pretty much done that in certain places like the Chieti document and the Alexandria document. So he's already pretty much conceded most of those points. For example, Chieti says that the Bishop of Rome did not exercise universal jurisdiction over the East in the first millennium. So that's a huge concession. But it's not like it's just the papacy. I mean, there's about 50 other doctrines that you guys hold to that are crazy.
Like what?
Like I don't know, supererogation, merits of the saints is crazy.
Merits of the saints?
What?
What do you mean merits of it? I'm not
Works of supererogation. So you don't even know your own theology.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, the idea that the saints can contribute above and beyond what is expected of them, and that there's this treasury of merits that the Pope can pull from and apply for temporal indulgences.
It comes down to indulgences, huh?
Well, the treasury of the merits of the saints itself is kind of ridiculous, but it relates to the doctrine of indulgences.
So how is the Greek Orthodox relationship to saints different?
There's no Orthodox person who believes in works of supererogation or a treasury of merits.
But you believe in intercession of saints, surely.
Sure.
So explain to me more this premise of supererogation and why it's flawed. The idea is what? That there's some kind of...
Well, nobody in the first 1,000 years of Christianity taught that you could go above and beyond duty of what Jesus asked you to do, and that you can merit those works that go into a spiritual heavenly treasury that the Pope can pull from. It's all retarded.
Yeah, I'd have to look into that. I would.
I mean, this is a pretty basic traditional Catholic doctrine. I'm not trying to be mean to you, but maybe you should go look into these things.